Welcome back, class 10. In today's class, we will start chapter 5, Factors Leading to the Formation of the Muslim League. Now, before we start this chapter, let me read the introductory paragraph. Different religious and linguistic groups have coexisted in India for centuries. What does it mean? It means that different religious communities and different communities speaking different languages coexisted, that means stayed together in India for centuries, for hundreds of years. The revolt of 1857 revealed a grand alliance. The revolt of 1857 showed a great alliance. Alliance means working together between Hindus and Muslims. So, in the revolt of 1857 showed that Hindus and Muslims can work together against a formidable army, against an unbeatable army. And who was that army? Formidable enemy. And who was that enemy? The enemy was the Britishers. All this Hindu-Muslim friendship or coexistence, happy coexistence, changed towards the close of 19th century. That means 1800 to 1899. That is 19th century, close of 19th century. That means when 19th century was coming to an end, when along with the rise of nationalism also started to rise. Along with that, communalism also raised its ugly head. What is communalism? Communalism is the opposite of secularism. Secularism means it is a state or it is a condition where in a country people practicing different types of religions can stay together. That is secularism. And communalism is just the opposite. What does communalism mean? Communalism means that when a country is divided on the basis of religion, that is communalism. Communal riot, you have heard this word, communal riot. That means where a riot has broken out on the basis of religion or religious differences. The factors responsible for the growth of communalism in India. Why? Previously, India was a secular country. Still, it is supposed to be a secular country. Supposed to be. The reasons for the rise of communalism and the formation of the Muslim leagues were many. Why communalism raised its ugly head and why the Muslim League was formed, there are various reasons for it. The British policy of divide and rule. After the revolt of 1857, the British followed the well-proven policy of divide and rule. British followed the policy of divide and rule after 1857, after the revolt of 1857. Why do you think so? The answer is very simple. During the revolt of 1857, the Britishers saw that the Indians are powerful because the Hindus and the Muslims, the two main religious sects in India, they were working together. Unity is power. So the Britishers realized that if these two groups of people, the Hindus and the Muslims, if they work together, they will give a challenge to the British rule. So the best policy was to break them. And once you break them, you will make them weak. The British encouraged communal and separatist trend in Indian politics. The British encouraged separatist trade. British wanted that Hindus and Muslims should get separated. They should become enemies. Or how did they do it? On one hand, they appeased the princes and the zamindars. On one hand, they pleased the princes and the zamindars. And on the other, they sowed the seed of disunity between the Hindus and the Muslims. On one hand, they pleased the zamindars and the princes, and on the other hand, they sowed, they planted the seeds of disharmony between the Hindus and the Muslims. Their purpose was to keep themselves in power by causing a rift means separation, between various sections who could otherwise unite against the British. So, the Britishers were very clever people. They knew that if Hindus and Muslims come together, if they fight together, they will be overthrown. So let the seed of separatism, let the seed of disparity be sowed, so that if they are separated, they will be weak. And once a group is weak, it will be very easy for them to throw them away. Understood? Now, for over 3 decades after the revolt, 30 years after the revolt, the Muslims were treated with suspicion by the British. The Britishers held the Muslims guilty of the revolt of 1857. In fact, the Muslims were suppressed systematically. Systematically, they were suppressed for 30 years after 1857. In the army, their recruitment was limited. Even civilian offices were denied. No civilian officers were given. Gradually, the entire scene began to change. That was from 1857, 30 years after that. Gradually, after 30 years, the scene started to change. How? The government's hatred towards Hindus also grew. Initial 30 years after 1857, the Britishers only hated the Muslims. After that, they started hating the Hindus also. The government wished to keep Muslims aloof from the Congress. The Britishers wanted that Muslims should be away from the Congress. Okay. Sir Syed Ahmed Khan and Theodore Beck, Principal Beck, the principal of Mohammedan College of Aligarh, tried to convince the Muslims that the Congress was a Hindu organization which should be avoided at all cost. So 2 persons are involved because they were brainwashed by the Britishers. One was Sir Syed Ahmed Khan and the second was Principal Beck. He was the first principal of Mohammedan College of Aligarh at Aligarh. So they tried to persuade the Britishers by saying that no, you should not join the Congress because Congress was typically a Hindu oriented or a Hindu group. Partition of Bengal was a clear example of an application of the policy of divide and rule. So what is an example of divide and rule? The partition of Bengal. Bengal was partitioned on the basis of religion, so that religious disparities can crop up. But the Britishers apparently gave a different reason for it altogether. Educational and economic, this is number 1, British policy of divide and rule. Number 2, educational and economic backwardness of Muslim community. Islam in India during the first 70 years of the 19th century, that 1800 to 1870, had almost declared war against the Western education because they had that protection of their own culture. They did not allow any other cultures to creep in. So they declared war against the other education system, especially Western education system. While children of Hindus went to school run by government or Christian missionaries, Muslims kept away from Western education. So the Muslims kept away from Western education while the Hindus and their children went for Western school and government schools. So there was a disparity. The Muslim remained uneducated or very little educated, while the Hindus started becoming more educated day by day. So this widened the gap between the two communities. So there was a huge gap between the two communities. Later, as a result of the efforts of Syed Ahmed Khan and Tyabji, Badruddin Tyabji, the Muslims took to the new learning. So they initiated that no, Muslims should also start learning. But even now also they were going too slowly because the Hindus became far ahead in their educational skills. The Hindus, the Christians and the Parsis. In comparison to Hindus, Christians and Parsis, Hindus, Christians and Parsis at one side became very much educated, and at the other side, the Muslim community, they started to get themselves educated, but the rate was still very low because the Muslims, the Christians, and the Parsis went far ahead. That led to the growth of communalism in India. The Muslims were led to believe, they were brainwashed to believe that supporting the government was the surest way of getting government jobs and other rewards and honors. So they were brainwashed, and they were said that if you butter the government, if you work for the government, it is the surest way to get government jobs. That is point number 2. Point number 3. General economic backwardness of the country. The British were exploiting India's economic resources by variety of means. You know, the Britishers were exploiting the resources of India in a lot of ways. The industrial progress was slow. Obviously, the industrial progress was slow. As a result of that, unemployment and poverty increased tremendously. Tremendous amount of unemployment and poverty increased. There was an intense competition for jobs. Of course, there was an intense competition for jobs. Far-sighted Indians who could see the future, knew that only independence can liberate India from such economic ailment. Only independence is the only way to get rid of such unemployment and backwardness. But many others thought of such soft options as reservation for jobs and various communities and castes. Educated Indians thought that the only way to get rid of unemployment and backwardness of India is by getting independence. But a majority group also thought that if you reserve posts for the backward classes, if you reserve posts for a certain group of people, then also it's a sure way of getting jobs. Now, baneful impact of communal instruction in history. This is not needed in your exam, but still, for the sake of general knowledge, I'll go through. The history textbooks contain material which encourage religious tolerance. British authors told the Muslims that they were the descendants of Turks and the Mughals who were captured India from Hindu. That's a very interesting thing. How did the Britishers sow the seed of disparity between the Hindus and Muslims? Just see. The Britishers told the Muslims that, see, you are the descendants of Turks and the descendants of Mughals also, and Mughals captured India from Hindus. This offended the Hindus' mind, obviously. Their immediate reaction was, if the Muslims ruled for 700 years before the British, the Hindus ruled for at least 2,500 years before the Muslims. Before the Britishers came, The Muslims or the Mughals ruled for 700 years. But before the Mughals came, the Hindus ruled for 2500 years. The British historians gave a detailed account of the cruelty inflicted by Muslim rulers on the Hindu subjects. Such textbooks naturally caused communal hatred. So, you know what happened? The basic thing was the Britishers instigated the Muslims against the Hindus and the Hindus against the Muslims. And both were idiots, I must say, buffoons. They did not understand what a great game the Britishers were playing. They were blinded by fanaticism. They did not understand such a deep game the Britishers were playing. Anyway, the assertive nationalists gave their nationalism a religious tinge. Tinge means color. Tilak started to celebrate Ganpati festival to rouse people's acts of heroism. As in previous chapters, we have learnt about the Tilak's Ganpati festival, Shivaji festival. He revived the memory of Shivaji's battle against the Mughal Empire. Bipin Chandra Pal regarded Sri Krishna as India's soul, Atma. None of the leaders was communal in outlook. Outlook wise, they were not communal. They were trying to revive the lost glory of India, the lost glory of Hinduism. Tilak, for instance, believed that children should be taught to forgive and forget the differences in each other's faith. Forgive and forget. Obviously, there will be differences. That is why it is such a colorful country. But if you instigate people against people, caste against caste, religion against religion, so it will be, you know what happened internally. If we start fighting against each other, internally the fabric of unity will become weak. And that is what the Britishers wanted. That was the whole intention of the Britishers, to make India a very weak country. So if you go on fighting against each other on basis of what food we eat, what language we speak, what dress we wear, so the main, the vision will get shifted. The vision was independence. So from that, we are shifting our visions to religion. Who is praying? Who is going to mosque? Who is going to temple? What food you are eating? What food I am wearing? What dress you are? What food I am eating? What dress you are wearing? These are all very minute things. These are all shifting off from the focus. But the British, what did Tilak said for again? Tilak, for instance, believed that the children should be taught to forgive and forget the differences in each other's faith. But the British officials worked cleverly to foment the Hindu. Foment means give, add fuel. Fomenting means if you have a boil, you take some warm cloth and you press the side of the boil so that it can erupt. So fomenting means encouraging the Hindu-Muslim controversy so that it can erupt. So these are basically the factors, the British policy of divide and rule. Other factors are also there. In the next class, we will start off with Sir Syed Ahmed Khan and Aligarh movement and Anglo-Oriental Defence Association. In the next class, we will start with that. I hope you have understood the factors we have discussed, namely the British policy of divide and rule, educational and economic backwardness of Muslim community, general economic backwardness of the country, baneful impact of communal instruction in history books. The assertive nationalists gave their nationalism a religious tinge. So this is all for today. We will meet again at the next class. Thank you.